Good morning, PCA. So we just got done watching a video about David, otherwise known as King David, and his story. And we're going to be talking about him today. We're going to be looking at 3 things that sets him apart and why his story is in the Bible. So let's get started. So the first thing we notice about David's life is that he was obedient to God. He obeyed God. The second thing we see is that he trusted God. So we'll talk about what that looks like. And then the third thing we see is that David was patient and waited on God. So let's get ready to look at those 3 things. So let's consider number 1. He obeyed God. So others looked more equipped on the outside, but God wasn't looking for the outside. He was looking for the inside. He was looking at David's heart, and he could see that David had a heart that was obedient. That's what set him apart. Let's take a look at Acts 13:22. It says this, "I have found David, son of Jesse, a man after my own heart. He will do everything I want him to do." What an amazing honor it would have been to be considered a person after God's own heart. I think we should all try to be like David, obedient to God, obedient to our parents, so that he could say to us, "You are a person after my own heart." Okay, let's look at our second point, and that is that David trusted God. So in David's life, he fought against many, many different armies, and he won because he trusted God. David wasn't a great warrior because of what was on the outside. Like we talked about earlier, he was a great warrior. He was a great king because of his heart on the inside. He trusted God, and when he went to fight Goliath, I love that this is what he tells Goliath. He told him, "You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied." If you were 15 years old and standing against a 9-foot giant, what would you say? Okay, number 3, David was patient and waited on God. So let's talk about how patient David was. So like I mentioned earlier, David was about 15 years old when the prophet Samuel anointed him or picked him to be the king. But that's not when he became the king. He became the king when he was 30 years old. So he had to wait for 15 years before he became king. I would say that's pretty patient. The other part to remember is that, like we watched in the video, David wasn't just walking around happy for those 15 years. King Saul was really mad at him because he knew he was going to be the next king. So he was actually looking for David and trying to kill David. So not only was he patient and waiting on God, he also had to be really trusting God that he would protect him. So let's consider how David's life helps us today. You were young, just like David was young. God has called you to do something great, just like he called David to. You will need to be patient and wait on God as he's preparing you to do something amazing. And you should trust God. Also, remember, God will always be with you. So let's look at those 3 things again. Number 1, David obeyed God. Number 2, he trusted God. And number 3, he was patient and waited on God. So this week, let's remember to stand tall and to face maybe our giant problem instead of our giant. And remember, God is always with us. Thanks so much for joining me today and learning about the life of David. Next week and the following week, we'll be learning about 2 more amazing Bible heroes. The last week of school is game day, so be paying attention and let's see who wins.